The crimson sun of Thaxor VII hung low on the horizon, casting long shadows across the crystalline plains. Lyra Ven stood motionless, her breathing steady, despite the circle of death that surrounded her. 17 pairs of amber eyes glowed in the dying light, each belonging to a cravash apex predators that had ruled this world for millennia before humanity ever reached for the stars. They were magnificent creatures, standing nearly 3 meters tall on powerful hind legs, their obsidian scales gleaming like polished armor. Razor-sharp claws scraped against the crystal ground, producing an eerie melody that would have sent any sensible being running. But Lyra wasn't running. She never did. The pack leader, a battle-scarred female with a missing eye, lowered her massive head and released a deep, rumbling growl that vibrated through Lyra's chest. The universal translator in Lyra's ear struggled to interpret the complex pheromone-based language, but the message was clear enough. Leave our territory, or become part of it. I'm not here to take anything from you, Lyra said calmly, her hands visible and empty at her sides. I'm a xenobiologist. I study life, not destroy it. The pack leader's response was a snort of disdain. Humans were new to this sector, and their reputation had preceded them. Where humans went, ecosystems changed. Species disappeared, worlds transformed. The Kravesh had watched from their mountains as human settlements sprouted like metal fungi across their hunting grounds. But then, something unexpected happened. A small figure pushed through the wall of scaled bodies, a cub, barely reaching Lyra's waist, with scales that hadn't yet hardened to the midnight black of adulthood. The young Kravesh's eyes were wide with curiosity rather than hostility, and around its neck hung a crude collar made of synthetic fiber. Lyra's heart clenched. She recognized that collar. She had made it 3 months ago. Corin, she whispered. The cub Corin tilted his head, a very unpredator-like gesture he had learned from watching Lyra during her field observations. The pack leader snarled, trying to pull the cub back, but Corin stood his ground, positioning himself between Lyra and the adults. You saved me, Corin said, his voice high and uncertain through the translator. The pack fell silent. When I fell in the ravine, when the stone serpents came, you protected me. Howar. Lyra remembered that day vividly. She had been documenting Kravesh hunting patterns when she heard the cub's distress calls echoing through the canyon. Every instinct told her to stay hidden, to remain the invisible observer. But when she saw the juvenile surrounded by venomous stone serpents, saw the pack too far away to help, she had done what any human would do. She had intervened, armed with nothing but a signal flare and her emergency kit. Lyra had rappelled down the ravine, using the bright flare to drive back the serpents while dragging the injured cub to safety. She had treated his wounds with her limited medical supplies, fashioned the collar from her equipment strap so she could track his recovery, and stayed with him until his pack arrived. The pack leader took a step forward, her remaining eye fixed on Lyra, with an intensity that made the human's skin prickle. You risked your life, the matriarch said slowly, for one of us. He was a child in danger, Lyra replied simply. What else would I do? A ripple of confusion passed through the pack. In their world, survival was paramount. Outsiders were threats, competitors, prey never saviors. The concept of cross-species compassion was alien to them. Yet here stood proof of it. Corin looked up at his pack leader, then back at Lyra. The others say humans are destroyers, that they take and take until nothing remains. His young voice carried a question rather than an accusation. But you gave. You protected me when you gained nothing from it. We're not perfect, Lyra admitted, addressing the entire pack now. My species has made terrible mistakes. We've been greedy, short-sighted, destructive. But we're also capable of learning, of changing, of choosing a different path. She looked down at Corin. Every time I look at the stars and see how vast the universe is, I remember that we're all just trying to survive on our little pieces of it. That makes us more alike than different. The pack leader was silent for a long moment, her ancient eyes studying this fragile creature who stood unafraid before certain death. Finally, she made a decision that would echo through both their species' histories. You protected one of ours when you had no obligation to do so, the matriarch said, her voice carrying the weight of ritual. By the old laws, by the blood debt, you are kin friend. The pack began to move, not away, but closer, forming a new circle around Lyra, one of protection rather than threat. Corin chirped excitedly, pressing his scaled head against Lyra's leg in a gesture of affection. Do we protect you now? Corin asked, his innocent question carrying profound implications. Lyra felt tears prick her eyes as she understood what had just happened. In saving one life without thought of reward or recognition, she had built a bridge between two species. The Kravesh weren't adopting humanity into their pack, not yet, not fully, but they were willing to see humans as something other than invaders. Yes, Corin, Lyra said softly, placing a gentle hand on the cub's head. As the crimson sun finally dipped below the horizon and the first stars began to emerge, Lyra Ven stood surrounded by 17 apex predators who had chosen alliance over antagonism. Above them, human and Kravesh stars shared the same sky, no longer separate but interconnected. In the vast darkness of space, humanity had often been defined by what it conquered. But on this crystalline plane, on this distant world, one human chose to be defined by what she protected, and that, perhaps, made all the difference.